Hello, everybody. I've been sitting here for a while trying to think about what I want to say. And if you know me, knowing that I feel speechless right now, that would be something you'd be like, no, I love to talk. But I do. I find myself speechless. So I want to talk about change because I'm in a huge transition change period in my life. And I thought this was a big transition, right? But things that used to be working for me aren't working anymore. And the position in life and place in life that I find myself is kind of spiraling out of control since I had a brain injury. And as I love coaching, I love training, I'm good at it. I love watching people's lives change. I love watching people's face change as they wake up to something new and create something new. And I love it. And yet in this moment, it seems like that's so far out of touch for me to be able to provide that for people right now. And everything that I'm chasing and everything I'm going after and everything that I'm up to is just not working. Nothing is working. And as I've been sitting in this deep contemplative state, mixed with losing my mind and feeling so out of control because it's like, this is what I want. This is what I used to do. This is what I want to get back in my life. Like holding on for dear life. I remember this story of the Buddhist fisherman, and I'll make this the short version, but basically he was in a farming village and it wasn't a fishing village because the river was too swift. And it was a rocky shore and the river was just too swift and nobody could catch fish. And one day, as the fisherman was trying to cast out to get to a calmer spot in that river, he slipped on the rocks and fell in. And he was holding on to those rocks because he thought that those rocks were going to save him. Like if he needed to hold on to those rocks, but the river was so swift that it kept beating and bashing his head against the rocks. And what he realized ultimately in this story was that what he was holding on to was what was actually killing him. And letting go of the rocks, while scary, is what would save him. And it did. He eventually got swept out in the river, realized he could float. After a while, realized that he can control where he floated, and after a while was able to swim to a shore in calmer water, and he came upon a fishing village, which is really cool. And I have this idea in my mind about holding on to this everything that I've learned, everything that I've went through, everything that I was positioning myself to be. And right now, I can't make any of that happen no matter how hard I try, no matter what I do, and no matter where I go. And as I look out into the world, I see a lot of people holding on to these values that no longer serve this great country of ours. I see people holding on just as I'm holding on to this career path. And the fisherman was holding on to the rocks. It's killing us. It's tearing us apart. And as I look back through history, I see all these different things that people were so out of their minds about when it happened, and things that we wouldn't even think about today. Whether it's something like when the first bicycle was invented, how it was a passing fad that most people didn't want anything to do with. And now could you imagine your life without bicycles? And this was back in 1850s, I think, 1850s, 1860s. And then when the car came out, it was the same thing. It was like, oh, well, that might be great for like the wealthy, but it's not good for anybody else. We're never going to use those. We're going to be with horses. Like, you can't make those. And imagine, our life today without cars. And then you look at that, even technology. I'll stay on technology for a second. I remember when the iPhone came out, and before the iPhone, the first iPhone, texting was a chore, and nobody really wanted to do it because you just kind of press the buttons here and there, and it really wouldn't do anything, and you wouldn't be able to work it or function, right? And so, like, some of these people were getting these iPhones, and they were showing other people, and they're like, "Hey, you could text." Like, there's these text bubbles, and so many other people are like, "Text? We're not going to text." And apps weren't even really a thing yet. Apps were like, oh, look, you can pretend to pour beer or this lighter, right? Like we didn't, And people kind of, yeah, it was uniquely popular, but there was a whole segment of the population that were like, what? No, like we just need a phone to make phone calls, right? Imagine where we are now. And then you look at big events in the world, right? You look at when women earned the right to vote. Before that, all the uproar that was surrounding it. Like nowadays, we don't even think about it. But at the time, in 1920, when women earned the right to vote, it was a huge deal. And it was a deal that a lot of people didn't want to have happen because they were holding on so tight to what they thought it was, which was ultimately rich white men, right? Which is what this country was mostly founded on, if you haven't figured that out. Rich white men making the rules for everybody. And even before that, I don't know if you know this, in 1870, Congress passed a law that enabled anybody to be able to vote regardless of race or creed or prior servitude, meaning slaves, after the slaves were freed. But it wasn't until 1965 that the Voting Rights Act passed. And even then, there was so much violence and murder because a black person wanted to vote or use the same water fountain or sit anywhere else on the bus but the back, or go to the bathroom, or go to a school. And all the violence that broke out because it wasn't what it was before. Hanging on to that idea, this out-of-date idea of, you know, rich white men. But hanging on to that idea that, no, you're different. You're different than what we know. You're different from what we've had in the past, and we're not going to have it. And then you look at things like television in the 50s and 60s. There was no sexuality. There was no anything. In fact, if you watch television back then, the beds were separated. Husband and wife, the beds were separated. They didn't even sleep in the same thing. Sexuality didn't really come to the forefront in the world until the 70s. And yeah, the 60s were about free love and stuff like that. And even then, that freedom, the hippies, oh, hippies are so bad and blah, 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 you know, and you have signs that hippies aren't welcome and this and that because it was different. And it was different than what was the norm before that. And then in the 70s, the sexual revolution, and people started talking more about sex. And then sexuality being, you know, well, guess what? Some men like other men and some women like other women, and it was punished hard. And even back then, like, trans would still not even be there. And now it's, you know, and then trans started coming through, and now it's more, but we're still fighting. We're holding on to those old values, and we're holding on to those old things that say, no, this is wrong, this is wrong. And, oh my God, gay marriage? You guys want to get married? No, because that's not what it was before. And any single time there's change in the world from what it was before, we're meeting with this resistance. And then you see some of the newcomers to the Democratic Congress that really represent more of who America is. It's a big difference between that rich white male Republican thing. But we're losing track of what matters. And we're losing track on all this stuff. And yeah, we've made strides. But people have paid prices with their lives through all of this. People have paid prices with not being able to be who they want to be, do what they want to do. You know, and eventually, you know, 50 years from now, we'll probably look back on this and say, yeah, what a weird time in history, because it'll be normal. And then there'll be something else new at that point, probably technology-wise. But that idea of holding on to something and fighting against something new because it's different. Because now people are starting to understand there's a difference between gender and sexuality. Right? And there's a difference between gender biological and gender in the brain, the way the brain is actually formed. Not by choice, but the way that the brain is actually formed. And science is showing this now, slowly but surely. And people are still rejecting that. Oh, it's a choice, it's a choice. Well, it was a choice to eventually be like this. I chose to finally stay in my power, but the choice wasn't, the choice in my brain wasn't a choice. Just as much as people that aren't transgendered, they never sat down and said, well, I was born a man, so let me see, do I want to be a man or do I want to be a woman? Well, you know what, I'm going to choose a man. I'll choose that. No, nobody does that. You just are. And my own life right now, I have this idea of what I'm supposed to be doing and everything like that. And as I'm looking at the world, I realize that something else needs to shift out in the world. And I have this idea of what I want to do. And I thought it was going to be through training and coaching. I thought that was the way it's going to be, but I need a bigger platform, which scares the shit out of me, because right now I feel like my life's shit. You know, I feel like, oh my God, I can't even support myself right now. What am I doing? You know, I've got this brain injury and a financial problem and this and that and the other. And I'm looking at a bigger platform, but sometimes we just have to go there because what we're doing and what we're holding on to isn't working, and it's time for something new. And all the resistance that's happened and all these things that I just talked to you about is happening in my life. Resistance to maybe it's something else. And I think I know what that is, and I'm not ready to announce it yet. But it's big. It's scary to me. It's scary. But we need to make a shift in this world. And it's not a shift of great importance. It's more of a shift of accepting what is, because as social media is out there, as news reports are out there, as the information age continues to grow and expand and technology continues to grow and expand, we're going to become aware of all these different things. Things that in you know, the gay community that pioneered in the 70s, in the 50s, you wouldn't even think about it. And, you know, and we still have undertones of all that hate, right? Undertones of hatred for the gay community, undertones of hatred for black people, undertones of hatred for women in many different ways in the workplace. These undertones of all this hatred that come from white men. And I'm not bashing the white men by any means, but it's just that's the foundation. And anything that was outside of that foundation was very difficult. And if you look at Congress right now, we have people that grew up in the 1950s when black people didn't have the right to vote, that were being influenced and shaped by those things. In the 1950s when women were supposed to be in the house and be a wife, now they're working and they're making laws from the 1950 brain. And these incoming new young people in Congress that are saying, hey, the world has changed since then. And once again, they're getting resistance from it. Congress is resisting that. And the older people in the world are resisting that. And the people that haven't been exposed to these ideas are resisting it. But it's always been here. We're just shining a light on it now for the first time. Once you shine that light on it, you can't unsee what's there. And people say, oh, the people get so upset about names and like, well, how, you know, you shouldn't expect me to have to call you male or female. No, I don't. I personally don't. But in the same sense, think of it this way. If my name's Aubrey, which it is, if my name's Aubrey and you go, hey, Beth, no, my name's not Beth. And if you keep calling me Beth, you wouldn't sit there and go, well, I think I have the right to call you whatever I want to call you. No, you would use common sense and common courtesy, which is what we need to bring back into the world and say, oh, I'm sorry. I've been calling you Beth. Your name is Aubrey. Let me call you Aubrey. And in the same sense, I get to be open because this is the other side of it. Because if you're going to call me man, you're going to call me sir, you're going to call me those things, I get to be open to that's not where you are yet, where you can call me by how I present. And that's fine. And my whole idea, and if you know me, you know this is true, is I have open dialogue about this. I'm very open about my entire life of being transgender because I want to educate and bring you into that space where you can go, oh, I can see it. I can call you female now, or I can call you this now. Right? Just as if my name was Aubrey and you're calling me Beth, I'd say, hey, listen, my name isn't Beth, it's Aubrey. Right? I wouldn't be like, you know what, you need to blah, 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 blah. We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that on each side. But we get into these little tiffs, and both sides have to understand. One, it's going to be a learning experience for other people maybe that have never been in contact with somebody that's transgendered. You got to give them space. You got to meet them where they are. And two is opposite. You get to meet me where I am and at least be open to having that dialogue. And you don't have to understand. This is the other thing that we have to get out of the way, is we got to get out of this idea of understanding what's happening. Because it's happening regardless. If you look at climate change, a lot of people, maybe they think one thing and that thing, and they go, well, I don't understand if it's climate change. I don't understand how, if we do this, then this is changing. You don't have to understand, but you do have to and get to accept that that the polar caps are shrinking, because they are. Yes, Sela. Yes, my cat agrees. So the thing is that there's things that we're shining light on, and there's things that are happening, and in our mind maybe we don't understand, and in our mind maybe we think it's something else, but those things are still happening. There still are transgendered people in the world. There still are, the polar caps are shrinking. There still are people that are being sexually assaulted, being discriminated against because of their race or their gender, or all these different things that are happening. And yeah, it might be scary because you haven't been exposed to it in the past, but they're happening, and they have to continue to happen, because that's the way it is. And we can progress or not. Okay? We can progress or not. And the other thing that we get to figure out and realize is that, whether you understand me or not, like, I'm here on this planet, and our planet is our home, and we are all one people living in one home, and we're destroying that too. We're destroying the home we live in. It's like people coming over to your house and smoking and lighting shit on fire and throwing their trash on the floor, and going into your refrigerator, go, oh, you have got a pitcher of water here, let me dump some plastic and some poison into there, and let me dump I was just digging up some mud in the back, let me throw that in your water. We wouldn't do that, but we're doing it every day in the world. And so big shifts have to happen. And for me, I thought it was going to be me working in smaller individuals, businesses, creating those awarenesses and things like that. And what I'm realizing now is, no, there's something bigger for me. And it scares the shit out of me what this is. And I don't know what it looks like yet, but I've got the idea and I'm moving forward on it. And I'm going to ask people to come along with me. Come along with people that have these ideas that I'm just talking about, that are seeing these changes that get to happen in the world, that are seeing what the light is exposing. People are seeing it to be, seeing the truth. People that are seeking the truth, and not the way that they have it, and not their own ideas or beliefs, but the truth outside of that, as subjective as that may be. But I'm going to be looking for you, because I can't do it by myself. I need a team. And that's one of the things I learned about everything that's happened to me in this last year. I need a team. I need a team. And I need a team in many different areas. And I'm asking you to be a part of it if you want to make a big difference in the world. Not just for the people in front of you that you're on stage in front of, not the people that can afford your workshop or your coaching program. I'm talking about the world. And if you're ready to make a difference there, then call me and we get to talk. Or I'll reach out to you. Just let me know. And I'm not talking about, like when I was asking for somebody, and people would reach out when I was in my dark times, and people going, hey, listen, I'm there for you. What can I do to help you? And I go, here, share this link for me, please. Nope, they wouldn't do it. You know what? You didn't help. Period. You asked what you could do. I gave you something that you could do, and you didn't do it. It was too much. Too much for you to do, to share a link. Right? I'm not looking for those people. I'm looking for the people that really want to do it, that will stand behind them saying, I want to help, what can I do? And then when you give them a way to help, they're actually going to do it. I'm not looking for false friends. I'm looking for allies. And maybe you have what it takes. And maybe you can't contribute anything but still want to be a part of it. That's great. We're going to do that too. There's going to be a space for you. But it's got to be focused on a bigger picture. It's not Democrat versus Republican. It's not gays versus straights. It's not any of that thing. We are all the human race. We are all humans, and we are called the human race. And right now, the human race is being shit upon. by people who want power and money. And by no means is money a bad thing. If you want it, go get it. And power the same way. You want to go get it, but not at any cost. Not at the cost of your brother or sister standing next to you. Not at the cost of the people that get hurt by you winning. Because if somebody loses while you win, then we all lose because we're all in the same race. And we don't win this game called life unless everybody wins. And if you're winning because somebody else is losing, if you're winning because you made somebody else lose, that's not winning. So, I'm asking for something bigger now. And as I create this platform, which I'm scared shitless of, which I'll announce maybe soon, maybe not, I don't know. I'm still in this planning phase. And it's totally different than what I thought it was going to be, so it scares me to death in so many ways. I need a team. I need a team of people that want to make a difference in the world, that want to be able to share resources, no matter what those resources are, whether they're financial resources, whether they're connections, whether they're resources in dealing with PR or whatever it is, sharing resources for a bigger goal. If you're ready to change the world, let me know. And I'm going to make a list. If you're ready to take action, let me know. And if you're ready to do it, not based on the little group of people that follow you and pay for every single workshop that you do, not the people that pay you for coaching and things like that, not the people that go, wow, I really respect you, here's some more of my money. Keep doing that if you want to, but if you want to do something bigger than that, because there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not making a difference in the world. Okay? So if you're ready, let's do it. Thank you for listening and watching. We're going to make change, but we're going to do it in such a way using transformational ideologies and philosophy and even religious concepts, not the religious out there stuff. We're talking about how to love one another, how to exist with one another, because those are concepts that are in all religions. How to love, how to share, not in socialist or communist ways. Okay? We can still benefit and help others. We can still rise to the top and help others. It's not either or. It's and. So you with me? Let me know. And thank you for watching. And I think that's all I have to say about it for now.